Hello friends, this is Nodejs Chat Application with MongoDB Database tutorial series. And in this part, we will learn how to create model class for MongoDB Database operation. And then after, we will also show you how to implement server-side validation under model class. In previous part, we have already shown you how to make middleware for upload user profile image with validation. Now for store register form data, we will create model class for MongoDB database operation with validation. So for this, here we have create one new directory with name like model. And under this model directory, we have create new file with name like user model.js. Under this file, first we want to include Mongoose library, so here we have to write constant Mongoose variable is equal to request method with parameter like Mongoose library name. Now we have to define schema, so here we have to write constant user schema variable is equal to new mongoose.schema method. So here we have defines new mongoose schema with named user schema. For store first name field data, here we have defines a field name first name in the schema. And it specifies that the field should be of type string, and this field value is require, that means it must be present in every document. After this, for store last name field data, so here we have to define field name last name. And this field should be of type string, and this field value is require. Next for store email field data, so here we have to defines email field in the schema. And this field type should be string, and this field value must be required, and it has a unique constraint. That means each email address must be unique within the collection. After this, for store password field data, so here we have defined password field in the schema. And this field type should be string, and this field value is required. After this, for store image name data, here we have defines image field in the schema. And this field type must be string, and it will be store uploaded image name under this field. Next for store user status data, so here we have defined status field in the schema. And this field type must a string, and under this we will store user login or logout status. And for store date time data, so here we have defined date time field in the schema. And here we have type of this field is date, and it will be default store inserted data date time data under this field. So here this schema defines the structure of documents for a user collection in a MongoDB database. Now for create model, so here we have to write constant user variable is equal to Mongoose to model method with 2 argument. In first argument, we have to write name of the collection in the MongoDB database, so here we have to write chat user as collection name. And in second argument, we have to write schema name, so here we have to write user schema. So here we have to create user model by using chat user MongoDB collection and user schema. Next we want to implement server-side form data validation. So for perform server-side validation, so here we will use Jo library. So for download this library, we have go to terminal, and run npm install jo library name. This library we will use for MongoDB data validation, and this command will install this library under this Node application. Now under user model file, we want to import jo library, so here we have to write constant jo variable is equal to require method with argument like jo, so this code will import jo library under this file. Now we have to define jo schema for form data validation, so here we have to write constant variable with named user validation schema is equal to jo.object function. This function is provided by Jo validation library for JavaScript, and it creates a schema object to validate JavaScript objects. So here, first name key in the object being validated and representing the first name field. Jo.string method specifies that the value of first name should be a string. Required method indicates that first name field is required and must be present. And minimum method specifies that the length of the first name string must be at least 1 character long. So this is validation rules for first name field. So now we have write validation rules for last name field. So here, last name key in the object being validated and representing the last name field. Jo.string method specifies that the value of last name should be a string. Required method indicates that last name field is required and must be present. And minimum method specifies that the length of the last name string must be at least 1 character long. Now for email field validation, so here email key in the object being validated and representing the email field. Jo.string method specifies that the value of email should be a string. Email method specifies that string should be a validation email address format. Required method indicates that email field is required and must be present. Next for password field validation, so here password key in the object being validated and representing the password field. Jo.string method specifies that the value of password should be a string. Minimum function specifies that the length of the password string must be at least 6 characters long. And required method indicates that password field is required. So here, we have defined schema for validate form data validation. Now we have to write module.exports is equal to open and close bracket, and between this we have to write user model name and user validation schema name. So by this statement, we can use this user model and user validation schema in another file. Now we have goes to server file, and here we have to write constant open and close bracket. And between this, we have to write user model name and user validation schema. And after this, we have to write require method, and in argument, we have to write path of user model class. So after define this statement, and now we can use user model and user validation schema under this file. Now in this file, we want to check user validation schema is working or not, so here, we have to write constant validation result variable is equal to user validation schema dot validate method with 2 parameter. In first parameter, we have to write request.body, and in second parameter, we have to write open and close bracket, and between this, we have to write abort early key and false as value. So this code will validate register form data, and now we want to check any validation error has been occur or not. So for this, we have to write if statement, and under condition, we have to write validation result dot error. So this condition will check if there is any validation error occur, then it will execute if block of code. Now for handle validation errors, so here we have to write constant validation errors variable is equal to validation result.error.details.map function, and under condition, we have to write error.message, so this code will fetch validation error, and store under this validation errors variable, in an array format. Now we want to respond with the array of validation errors, so here we have to write response.status function, with 400 status code, and after this, we have to write JSON function, and under this, we have to write errors key, with validation errors variable. So it will send validation error to client, in JSON format. Now we want to check this output in the browser, so we have goes to terminal window. And here, we have run node server.js command, which will start node development server. So friends, here on browser, we can see that register form has been displayed on the web page. Now we want to check register form validation is working or not, so for this, here first we have select user profile image from local computer. And then after, we have click on register button, so after click on register button, here we can see that required field validation error message has been displayed on web page. Now we have fill all form field data, one by one. And now, we have click on register button, and after click on register button, here we can see that registration complete success message has been displayed on web page. That means, here form data validation has been working properly, so in this part, we have learned how to create model for handle MongoDB database operation, and then after we have implement form data validation by using Jo library, and in next part, we will learn how to store register form data under MongoDB database